Welcome back, everyone. A quick jump into game number 3 is where we're going to be finding ourselves as we cross into a double helping of Erangel to cap off the day. So I believe we bounce back and forth. So that's how it's going to go. Double Miramar tomorrow, double Erangel the next day, and then double Miramar to finish off the tournament. But welcome back. Welcome back. Yes, a pretty crazy second match that we saw played out right there on Miramar. Big point totals being picked up by Melt the Power as well as HaKoHe from that match. I believe both teams ended with 9 kills and then first and second place points respectively. But yes, welcome back. Run in from the kitchen, get those drinks, sit on down, and buckle up because we are back inside of the game. I love this. It's a rapid fire PUBG, and that is definitely a great way to watch it. Playing path going to be not too bad here. Favored a little bit down towards the southwestern side of Erangel from the west coast down to the southeast is how we're going to be kicking it off here in game number 3. As far as drop locations go, there is a little bit of an early contest happening around the shelter area between Istanbul Wildcats and Dose Pilots. A little bit of congestion, not too deadly. Well, I was going to say it all the way up towards the northwest where Zarki, North Georgia Pole, and South Georgia Pole all have occupants. And that's exactly where we're going to be going here in game number 3. Up here far, far, far towards the northwest. A circle that isn't too common. Not too common based off of at least competitive play in the North American and European regions over the last few months. But this circle is going to be one that heavily favors our 4 teams that have already found themselves inside of phase number 1, inside of that northwestern side of the circle. But it's also going to be a circle that puts a few of these teams to the test. The rotations are going to have to come out, and some far ones at that. The members, oh no. Brute Force are already starting to feel that hurt. A flipped buggy inside of a field with no armor and no guns is definitely not where McKenzie had intended to start game number 3. Thankfully, though, they've got Hawk, a savior of a teammate, to roll out into the fields of Yasnaya Polyana and pick up their disabled teammate and bring them back to safety, bring them back to the loot. A necessary maneuver, but a risky one as well. Chat, I hope you guys are all having a wonderful end to your weekend. I hope you're all having a wonderful Sunday. And I hope you all are going to be with us as we continue on through stage 2 of the PELC promos. We've got games continuing on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Wednesday being the final day of stage 2. We're at the end of it. We'll be able to surely say which 9 teams will be advancing on in to phase 1 of 2020 into the PELC. It's a big, big, big accomplishment for these teams to work towards. So make pretty much sure that you understand the weight of what is being, what is potentially being earned by these squads. And as always, guys, if you have those squads in here that you are supporting, if you're a fan of one or more teams, make sure to show that support. If you've got emotes for your favorite squad, spam them in chat. If you've got phrases for your favorite squad, say them in chat. If you don't have either, hashtag your squad name. Show that support, guys. It means a lot to these teams as they watch the VODs. Definitely a lot of these teams will be going to the drawing board here tonight to rewatch these games and see if there's going to be any opportunity for them to make some movement, make any adjustments to better their performance throughout the final 3 days of the tournament. Also, want to give you guys a big shout out. I know PUBG Competitive has a global audience, and a big shout out to all of you guys for showing up here. So I'm curious, where around the world are you guys watching the PELC promos from? Where are you supporting your favorite team? Over here in Severny, the members of Boris going to be very much so uncontested. This is one of those squads that we saw make that early rotation. They were inside of phase number 1 off of the drop. Definitely not as far north as they currently sit, but a good adjustment for that squad. Tony team going to be making that push here through the main road of Razak. Teammates out of the window as they pick up the motorcycle. Going to give them a better opportunity to scout. One of the scariest things that you can see from a squad is I'm at home. Great. Yes, the regional pride of home. 5 minutes here into the game, but yeah, a four stack inside of a car is certainly not where you want to be. So that vehicle going to come in clutch for that squad. Looking over here, I believe this is going to be the Preachers making the boat transition. Crate far off inside of the ocean is not going to be easily picked up by any squads, if even spotted out. In the distance, CrazyCrew off of that readjustment will be locking down the cube compound, and inside of this circle, the cube compound is still going to be very important. I would definitely tag it as one of the priority positions inside of this circle, given the fact that we still have a significant amount of this circle split off by the river that leads out of the Yasnaya city and then into the Bay of Georgopol. Crazy will be splitting themselves in a 2-2 split A. Again, I applaud right now what CrazyCrew is doing. It's definitely not 50-50, but it's still going to be enough of a ratio to justify this type of positioning. They've got STaravillo, one of their other teammates from CrazyCrew, going to be positioned off to the southwest of the cube compound. Pluto and the other teammate in the cube, obviously. Many rotations coming in, and a lot of teams seem to be favoring these far northern rotations to come in off of the shoreline, as we see the members of ADR Farmers starting to do so. Intruders rolling off of the Stauber Hill will be trying to get that elevated position to look off towards the west and possibly pick up some information. HaKoHe coming off of a pretty dominant game. You know, obviously, right, they're going to feel bad. They wanted to walk away with the W right there in game number 2, but they are going to have a few other opportunities, right? It's definitely still very on early in the tournament, and just having that type of performance has to be a bit of a reassurance for your squad that you are certainly in a good place. Vehicle's going to be under fire right now. Royalty literally going to be lit up as that team is trying to escape a early death here. Milk Power going to be lighting it up. They spot out that solo player who hopped out of the US to escape the explosion, is not going to be able to escape the gunshots from the SKS of Guess Who had a dominant game in the final few minutes of game number 2. One of the big impacts as to why Milk Power was able to come up with the W there. Fine spots out that player from the US. A different angle is all that was needed to come up with the knock and the flush. Their first blood of game number 1 going to be secured. Guys, as always, if you have not already, I would direct you to go on over to the PUBGesports.eu website. This is going to be the central hub for all things PEL, PELC, PELC promos. Head on over there. We have the scoreboards. They update almost instantly after the matches. You can be sure to check those out. You can check out the individual stats of your favorite teams, and even further, check out your stats of your favorite players. It's quite a great tool for you to utilize and supplement this PELC promos viewing experience. ADR Farmers have been able to advance themselves inside of phase number 1. It wasn't too tall of a task, but as we saw, many far rotations come in from squads. Still teams going to be trying to find their way inside of the safe zone. One team that sticks out to me is going to be Stellar, all the way down here to the south. Going to be playing off of the hopes of a southern hard shift in phase number 2, but that's not going to be happening. It's pretty much a centralized shift, a slight nudge possibly over towards the east off of our central point of phase number 1. But it's going to be a circle that still leaves a bit of question in the minds of players for phase number 3. It still could possibly hard shift down to the south and continue to keep us in a position where we don't really know what the landscape of the mid to late game is going to be like. In this phase 2 circle, it's almost confirmed. It's still going to be opened up a little bit, but the north is going to be very congested already, and it's going to continue to play out like that. Many more teams are going to be funneling their positions up here towards the north to try to find a place to call home. Stellar, in doing so, will be entering into the southern side of phase number 2. A position on top of Georgopol Mountain is where they find themselves safe for now, but it doesn't really provide them too much in terms of position moving forward. The main pickup that Stellar is going to see off of that Georgopol Hill is the information, the ability to scout out the rotation that they will inevitably Most likely. Say 95% chance of them having to make. HaKoHe's Fike able to spot out the intruders. Nailcop gets knocked down and out. Will be another kill in the pocket here for HaKoHe as the intruders are able to reunite now as a 3-stack onto one of the compounds on the northern shore of this circle. Not going to be a bad position. A lot of teams do favor playing this coast, and as time has progressed, even more so. With that happening, the coast gets a little bit too crowded to safely reside on, so having that compound is going to be a huge play for them. Other teams that don't have the benefit of that man-made hardcover it's gonna be difficult. Rita sprayed down, a huge damage coming out of the car right there for brute force. Necessary damage, pretty much the damage that might have saved the lives of some of those brute force members. Stellar, after picking up that information from George Bull Hill, will be pushing off and landing across the river now, where we had seen one of the members of Royalty previously taking out. Level now starting to continue on that rotation from the blue zone. Again, a very far rotation from Level, but one that we saw them attempt in the previous game on Miramar. They dipped heavily back into the blue zone in favor of a southern rotation on that match. And we'll be trying to do something similar here. Your ADR farmers going to be looking to have a game similar to the performance we saw from match number 1. They still sit atop the leaderboards. However, that gap has been closed out by multiple different squads. 3 or 4, maybe even 5, really in striking distance of taking away first place, even after this game. CrazyCrew is still going to be holding on to the cube compound. They pulled in that other part of the 2-2 split from the southern side of the road. Headed to Harry Potter. It's going to be STaravillo and his teammate on the first and second stories, respectively. Phase 3 shift is going to be coming in here. As a viewer, we want to see it shift out to the south. As a player, they want to see it pretty much shift to the north. It's going to be a centralized shift. Once again, not going to be throwing these players too far for a loop here. In match number 3, and based off of our land ratio settings that we work off of in circle number 4, it's going to be going up towards the north. Teams will readjust accordingly. Won't be playing off of that little bit of land left on the southern end of phase number 3. Reposition comes out from the Tony team as they try to thread the needle in between both brute force as well as Boris, and they've been able to do so, at least for now. Preachers down the hillside inside of the compound of where Lazy and Vlad are currently positioned. Fiend, line up the kill feed. Intruder is going to be the recipient of this HaKoHe damage once again, and Fike is right there to flush out the kill onto the intruders. I believe they're going to be left now with 2 members alive, a position the intruders didn't really want to find themselves in here at the 13.5-minute mark, still significantly early here in this match. Shots come out. Mkaelovich is able to spot out 1, but unfortunately ADR farmers are there to do just that, farm the ADR and get the knock in the flush. 1 remaining member, of this intruder squad is trying to get away right there. Did a bit of that was like a street BMX trick on the bike as the tire did get popped out, spun him out entirely, and in a wide open position had little to nowhere to go. Anonymous from the ADR farmers is able to find that remaining kill and outgo the intruders, the first team to be eliminated here in game number 3. I know you saw that, chat. I know you saw that. 15 teams remain, and brute force will depart out of that shack location and try to push up the hillside over towards the west, where they did earlier feel some pressure from HaKoHe. HaKoHe has been a pretty standout squad here, at least as far as stage 2 is concerned. And you talk to a lot of these teams, you talk to a lot of these players, and you ask them, what's the goal for day 1? You got a 4-day tournament, 4 games per day. What is the goal? Well, the goal is on day number 1 to get as many points as possible. It doesn't matter if it's from placement. It doesn't matter if it's from kills. It's great. It's amazing if it's from both. But just pick up as many points as possible. So if you see your squad going down and out early, you have to kind of weigh the decision. We're probably not going to be picking up a lot of kills as the game progresses. So definitely have to play as safe as possible to lock down placement points. Over here, though, on the southeastern side of the circle, it's going to be a clash between Level and Istanbul Wildcats. Two teams that I think we've been wanting to see clash it out, as they did sit atop the leaderboards throughout stage number 1. So it's very fitting that we see them clash here in the middle of the game. Shots coming out. Iffy going to be pushing up on the backside. He's able to find the spray down on to Genzo, but has to quickly reset off of this. Doesn't have a lot of opportunity to do so, and will be flushed out of the game. Genzo remains alive, and no other members of Level in the vicinity to provide support or capitalize on the knock that their teammate was able to get. Those pilots going to be pulling up here, giving a lot of audible cues in the distance. Istanbul Wildcats divert their attention back to the blue zone and are able to catch out even more members of Level trying to roll up on to their back flank. Moonlight goes down and out. Those pilots going to be heavily under fire by the breach. This is definitely not where they want to be. Brute Force is capitalizing on top of this beautifully right now. HalloSenpai able to get that flush onto those pilots with the SLR. Still going to be pushing off of the blue zone, though. Level, they've probably taken the most blue zone damage out of any team so far here in stage number 2. At least on the first day, that shift does go all the way to the north. As expected, we knew it wasn't going to still favor any type of water, and so it shifts accordingly. Istanbul Wildcats trying to thread themselves in between two different squads. CrazyCrew to the north, Royalty down to the south. A bit of a pinch position they found themselves in, and need to play more carefully now that they're here. Istanbul Wildcats going to be rolling up right next to where Royalty is positioned. Shots come out. They've not been able to spot the snake in the grass just off of their southern flank. This could be huge, but Sup needs to wait for just the right time to take the shots. Take them right now, and you could get a knock, but likely won't be able to flush it before Istanbul Wildcats flip it back around onto your position. Exercise and patience right now coming out from Royalty. He wanted to take those shots right there. He was tracking Genzo's head as if he was ready to spray down, but will continue to remain undetected and heavily in the mix of things. Spots out Genzo, needs to take the shots now. Genzo's looking down here to the south and doesn't have too much room to work with. Very exposed right there in the grenade throw position. Sup? Where you at? Spots out another player. Istanbul Wildcats have not been able to detect the presence of Royalty whatsoever, as gunshots just erupt all around this area. 2 members alive for Royalty. You see Jesse pushed back onto the hillside. Not really in a great position to provide support over to his other teammate, but still in a position to capitalize on top of the Istanbul Wildcats. Huge nade coming in on top of HaKoHe. That's going to be connecting. Fiend does go down, will be flushed immediately thereafter by Myca of the ADR Farmers. Now on their back foot, Vlad and Lazy. We'll have to try to see what they can do to push back what's going to be multiple squads coming in and trying to apply some pressure. Preachers off of the south, and then ADR Farmers up here towards the north. And there it is, huge nade in the kill feed. We didn't catch it on cam, but we certainly have to notice it in the kill feed. Royalty Sup is able to get a nasty nade on top of the Istanbul Wildcats. But then we also see in the kill feed, as expected, Genzo's able to flip it back around. Istanbul Wildcats wipe out that solo player threat in that area, but Royalty still remains as a threat in this game. You can't forget about the fact that they had Jesse on the hillside just down to the south. Next ship does come in. It's going to be going over towards the eastern side of our previous circle central point. The members of Tony team going to be heavily favored inside of the only real established compound. Sup going to be flushed out of the game. The Istanbul Wildcats Laza is able to find the secure of the kill that their teammate was able to pick up just a second ago. Stellar going to be still in the mix here on the southern side of the previous circle. Phase 5 does force them to have to traverse at least a little bit of open area ahead of them, and they're starting to figure out that that's not going to be as easy as they had once hoped. mltpower pushing up, as well as ADR still going to be on that farm. Very true to the name. Coming off this northern flank, they continue to take on engagement after engagement. Royalty going to be wiped out of the game. Jesse does get spotted out. That's the Istanbul Wildcats that put the nail in the coffin for Royalty in game number 3. 20-minute-and-a-half mark has all but been met here with 11 teams and 39 players alive. And a massive light up. Stellar starts to become a little bit active here, engaging onto the Istanbul Wildcats. This is one of the squads that they had to worry about, but I think the more immediate threat was mltpower. ADR Farmers now taking massive casualties right here. Anonymous, the only member left alive, as the Preachers put up a massive stance coming out of the blue zone. Preachers lose one more member, only have one remaining alive. A 1v1 scenario between these two squads is definitely not where the ADR Farmers want to be. They picked up a few kills to their name, but it's not going to be the point total that they want to be walking away with. Anonymous with a quick spray down over towards the direction of the Preachers. We'll be trying to find that, but does get spotted out across the map. It's going to be Brute Force. AmerouuS, who had 1k damage in the previous game, might I add, comes up huge with a kill from the SLR and continues to put points up on the boards for Brute Force. Brute Force is having a hell of a day. They are certainly having a good set of games here. A type of set of games that you want to have on the first day of a tournament. Circle for Fight Club ends up finding a few shots out of the members of mltpower. Finds a second drop down, the second knock here for Circle. As they now push aggressively into this, they've got to fight against some of the blue zone damage. They are now going to be safe, looking for a few more shots, but also trying to avoid the shots coming in from the eastern side of this circle. They're now going to be capitalized on. The third party comes in huge. Tony team continues to be a threat from this compound that we had previously seen them occupying. We knew it wasn't going to be too difficult for them. They've got to defend it, is pretty much the name of the game. M249 going to be prepped and ready. ZorF able to find another spray down. And with that, mltpower will be eliminated out of the game in 9th place position. Attention going to be diverted back up towards the northern side of things, where they at least are able to spot out one more squad. Brute Force going to be trying to hide behind the tree. HalloSenpai able to avoid being the next casualty to ZorF. ZorF with a deadly weapon combo. It's going to be the SLR, M249 on the back. And pushing up now, tree to tree, is how they are going to try to advance into phase number 6. It's, again, going to be a very difficult transition. One that is about maybe 20 to 30 meters in distance, but it is going to feel essentially like 400 to 500 kilometers. Or 400 to 500 meters. Whoa, not kilometers. Shots come out. Mkaelovich of Boris is able to find the tag down, but immediately will be traded out by CrazyCrew. Shots continue to ring back and forth between these teams, and Stellar will be our 7th place squad here in match number 3. Quickly dropped out thereafter will be Boris out in 6th place position. 5 teams now going to be remaining here with 12 players alive. CrazyCrew lose 1 to the blue zone, and now another confirmed posthumously by Mkaelovich. This is pretty much Tony team's game. You know, it's not confirmed. You don't just win games by getting position. You have to be able to play off of them. But based off of the performance that we've seen from Tony team throughout stage number 1, and now here in stage number 2, I'd be surprised to see this squad drop the ball and not be able to capitalize, not just on the fact that they have 4 members alive, the only squad still in this mix with all 4, but they've also got beautiful position. Play textbook PUBG, and Tony team should be eating chicken here after game number 3. Shots come in. Fight Club going to be eliminated off of the distance by the shots coming through for Mackenzie's SLR. The next circle shift going to be coming out here. It still could shift away from Tony team. However, they're not necessarily on the edge, so the chances of that happening, the chances of them being fully out of play are fairly small, but it does happen. A hard shift comes in, and Tony team is going to be put to the test now as they have to depart the compound that has been so safe for them over the better part of about 10 minutes. Now into the fray, they go where they have to fight against the likes of Brute Force to their north, CrazyCrew off to the northeast, and the Istanbul Wildcats down to the southeast. I know we got a lot of fans of all of these squads still remaining here, guys, so get hype in the chat. Make sure to throw that support over to Tony Team, over to Brute Force, over to the Istanbul Wildcats, or over to the CrazyCrew solo player who's just trying to push as far as possible into this match. Shots come out. Tony Team going to be under fire as Mackenzie, the rest of the Brute Force squad, has started to wrap around this northwestern side of the circle. An angle that gives them nasty lines of sight onto where the Tony Team are going to have to depart. But there it is. That's what Tony Team needed to do. They had to open up something. A massive headshot going to be coming in from the SKS of the Tony Team member will be connecting onto Mackenzie. Down goes one. Tony Team's now got the window of opportunity. The small window they needed to push out and capitalized on top of Brute Force. Down goes Mackenzie. HaKoHe to be knocked down as well. Mackenzie flushed out of the game. AmerouuS gets tagged down by Istanbul Wildcats. The third party going to be huge. And now Tony Team is under fire. They've lost one member so far. As it stands, yes, as it stands, surely at this point, with the flush coming in from Ginzo, it's going to be a 3v2v1. Still favoring the members of the Tony Team. But definitely with these numbers, it could be anyone's game. Even CrazyCrew, STaravillo, the solo player. But what a push coming out from Tony Team on to Brute Force. Kind of taking the name away from Brute Force and spinning it on him. It was a crazy push. And that's the type of gameplay that is necessary if you want to be a top PELC team, if you want to make your way into the PEL. You have to be able to recognize that split second when you have the advantage. And off of Tony Team's headshot knock onto Mackenzie, that was the moment that they needed. They capitalized on it, and they played it beautifully. But the game is not over yet. 27 minutes here into match number 3. And it's still, as I said, anyone's game. Here in Phase 8, with 30 seconds still on the board before we even see that blue zone shrink. These teams have a little bit of room to work with, I think more than they're used to based off of the terrain here on this circle. A lot of hill still going to be definitely fought over, which presents those different lines of elevation that both block off your line of sight as well as you being seen from others. So it's just a slow maneuvering. StarAvillo pretty much with the best position, I think, in the game right now. Just able to hang back on the far northeastern edge. On the high ground, teams have to push into him. He's going to be able to spot out anything that comes his way. Really, the issue is going to become once phase number 9 pops and the ultimate collapse begins, he's going to be one of the farthest players away, one of the first players to have to move to avoid a blue zone fate. 30 seconds on the board, though, until we enter into phase number 9. Tony Team going to be spreading out slowly but surely along the northern side of this circle, trying to hold angles without over-aggressing into their opponents, setting up a few smokes as well. Those smokes that are being laid out right now by Tony Team will continue to exist, at least about 10 to 20 seconds into phase number 9. But it's not going to give them a ton of time to work off of. Majority of the smoke's going to be held back for Tony Team to put out in this phase 9 pop, and here they start to be deployed, possibly even a little bit too late, but they are going to go out, and the phase 9 blue zone is going to begin to collapse. Istanbul Wildcats will have to push off their far southern position. You see Ginzo is playing dead center. He has pushed up. He's got Laza playing the Overwatch position down to the south. Tony Team holds on to the north, and they're trying to clear out essentially the edges of this northern side of the circle. They will likely find the presence of CrazyCrew very... Oh, I think Feberino saw him off the corner of your screen. We almost were blocked by it with the UI, the team UI. And that's going to be unfortunate right there. I think that Feberino was definitely in a good position and definitely spotted him. Saw the player graphic on the far left-hand side of the screen and will be capitalized on. CrazyCrew remain a massive threat and are going to be drawing in the presence of the Istanbul Wildcats. Remember, Ginzo, the other teammate of Laza, was able to spread out and push towards the center. They hold on to the position, and that opens up Laza the opportunity to push over here towards the northeast and possibly be a thorn in the side of the other two remaining squads. I think he knows exactly where STaravillo is. Going to be watching that angle. Possibly even saw the trajectory of the grenade. Will be seeing even more indication that there is a player there riding in the blue zone. Has to be very careful not to take even one tick from this death zone in phase number 9. And there it is. Laza is able to find the shots. Patience is the name of the game, and is able to spawn out the other member of Tony team that currently sits up here. It's a 2v2 scenario. Genzo's still going to be alive, playing position as they face off against Sabin and Blacklight. Very exposed. It's going to be Sabin that finds it with the AKM. Knockdown onto Laza. There it is. A grenade from Blacklight to end it all. Tony team walk away with a massive 19-point game. 10 points from the chicken dinner. 9 points from the kills. I know we got a lot of Tony team fans in chat, so make sure to throw it up for what Sabin, Blacklight, and the rest of the crew were able to do here. We'll take a look at some of the replays of this game to show the chaotic moments that really led us into those final engagements that were tactical. They were skilled. They weren't pressured engagements. They weren't chaotic engagements based off of how much room those teams had to work with. But it was quite a shift from how the game had played out up until that point. Intruders faced off against a massive amount of aggression early on. Weren't able to escape it. Found themselves exiting out of the game very early. And that was the story of at least a few squads as they faced off against those nasty northern rotations across the Yasnaya River. Yep, GG's in the chat as we have one more game to break into here for day number 1 of Stage 2 PELC Promotionals. I believe we're going back to Erangel to cap off the day. So these teams will finally, for the first time today, have a chance to go back and replay the same map, be able to make those adjustments that they were able to quickly identify. I wouldn't expect there to be too many. Maybe a few teams are going to be able to pick up on a positional queue pretty fast here. But the initial drops weren't too chaotic as far as Erangel is concerned. Brute Force was having a great game up until this moment in particular. That headshot not coming out is what really opened up the opportunity for Tony team to win the game. This was their win condition. Pretty much the only checkbox that they had to tackle was taking down the Brute Force members to allow them that rotation up towards the north and out of the compound that had provided Tony team with so much safety throughout the day. Final engagement pops off right there, and there's the secure. We'll take a look at how these teams shaped up here just in match number 3. Our possibly most significant game in terms of what it'll mean for the leaderboards so far here in day number 1. 4 teams not able to pick up a single point in this game. I believe Royalty's second game was 0 points, and that's going to be tough for them to try to claw their way back from. Thankfully, they do have 3 more days of play and 1 game here today to do so. Top half of the leaderboards from game number 3. Tony team, no surprises at the top of it. 19 points that they took away with 9 kills and a first place finish. Brute Force coming up pretty clutch as well. They had 10 kills that match, so it was neck and neck. I mean, Brute Force was a serious contender in that match, and it was pretty stellar to see. No pun intended. It was pretty stellar to see those two teams end up clashing, and was what was rather a pivotal moment of that game. Top kills from match number 3 here in stage 2 PELC promos. It's going to be AmerouuS once again atop the kill leaderboard with 5 kills to their name. Let's put them together though. Istanbul Wildcats chalked them up with the Tony team, and the damage fairly similar. Second place team Istanbul Wildcats were able to pick up almost 1,400 damage from that match. Our head-to-head individual players going to be Thebs and Sabin. Very similar performances as well. And now, your cumulative leaderboards for today. After 3 matches have been played, Brute Force sit atop the leaderboards in first place position with 36 points. Tony team going to be in second place with 31. Fight Club in third with 29, tied with the ADR Farmers. And then it trickles down from there on out. Still going to be neck and neck. We have a tie. I'm not sure how the kill points stack up between Stellar and CrazyCrew at this current time. But a lot of ties in terms of points that have been put together, and that's not too unexpected. Based off of the first day of play, the leaderboards will, as always, continue to develop as we continue on and more PUBG is played. But for teams like Royalty, Dos Pilots, Hakkapeliittas, INTRUDERS, and Level, currently sitting in single-digit points after 3 games have been played, they need to start at least, I wouldn't say here in the final game, change things up. Definitely go into this evening and work with your coach, work with your team, try to see if there's anything small that you can shore up before entering into tomorrow's games. We've got one more match, guys, on the day, the 4th match and the final match kicking off here in probably just a few minutes time. The games have been absolutely back to back to back so far, so don't go too far and don't touch that browser. We'll be right back.